everybody, and welcome to another episode of Till Death Do Us Pod with me, Tova Lee.
And me, Michael Lee.
How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. How was your day so far?
People always laugh at that because we don't.
No.
You know, this sort of every week, this is the time we actually get to actually see each other and chat without kids and work.
So how are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Thanks for asking. I'm okay. You know, sun's shining.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's shining. All right. It is shining. I'm glad we managed today without any technical problems. Although we did get the time wrong, but that's another.
Always something.
Yeah, it's a very professional podcast. We have a very special guest today on the podcast. We've had such an amazing guest, haven't we? Like really, I'm so chuffed that people are agreeing to come on my podcast. Yay! But the guest today is a lady that I came across, I think on social media, just very randomly. I'm trying to think how I came across.
I think I got very excited when you saw her because you came up to me and said, oh my God.
I know.
Amazing.
Yes. She's the lovely Nikole Mitchell, which she's going to join us in a minute, but she is, and in her bio, it says pastor turned stripper, which we're going to get into. I want to hear everything about that, but she's joining us from all the way in California. Hello, Nikole.
Hi, Nikole.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to see you finally in person-ish.
Hey, in person, I love it.
This is the new in person, you know, like this is it.
That's true.
But yeah, I came across your story was so was so interesting. And we're doing a special, we're doing a few episodes about extreme change in career. And I don't think it gets more extreme than pastor turns stripper. Tell us a little bit about that.
This is just a wee change in life. It's been an adventure. It's so interesting. I feel like I've lived many lifetimes, and I just finished reading your book, Tova. Thank you so much for that. It was like perfect for my work trip to just sit and read by the pool and laugh out loud. Highly recommend it. Everyone get her book, buy it. It's so good. You know, on the airplane, a woman next to me, she goes, "Oh my gosh, I need to know more about this book. I'm hooked by the title." Like it's just a catchy book. And she took a picture of it to buy. But it was just so relatable about the way women are raised in the world. We are indoctrinated from a young age about who we should be and what we should want. And it took me until my 30s to kind of unpack that and come home to, but what do I actually want, and who do I actually want to be? And when I put off all those ideas and opinions and assumptions that were put on me, I found out that who I was being and what I was doing wasn't the fullest truth of who I was. I loved being in the church. I loved being a leader. I loved leading my flock. And like, that was my life, my entire life. But I felt like there were parts of me that were being suppressed or compartmentalized because that wasn't allowed in the church. And so I did what Elsa did in Frozen and stepped into the unknown to see where that whisper was leading me. And I had no idea that it would lead me into the work that I'm doing today as an OnlyFans model, as a stripper, as a sex worker. I've been called all kinds of things. Maybe they're all right. I'm not sure. But it was just by releasing what was expected of me and stepping into my own desires and my own calling that I found myself where I am. And I am so happy.
Did you have people, a friend or family members that you started talking to and going, you know, that kind of, because it doesn't happen overnight. Was it like a sort of a long process?
Yeah, my title, Pastor Turned Stripper, makes it sound like it was overnight. Like, bye guys, hello club. Like, not how it went at all. It was about a 2-year process. And it was just like, it was like these deep desires I've always had. Like, I remember middle school thinking, doesn't everyone want to be a stripper? Like and I'm in like super tiny private Christian schools, super tiny little churches. Like I did not have exposure to that kind of world, but something in me already knew about it. And I just thought, doesn't everyone want to perform? I don't understand why you wouldn't. And then I remember being in 8th grade watching the movie Titanic. And when the camera pans across Kate Winslet's naked body, I remember thinking, I want to do that when I get older. So these desires were always there, but I had no one to talk to about it because I quickly learned that this is not the kind of conversation you have inside the church, unfortunately. So it wasn't until my 30s that I realized I was queer. That's kind of the catalyst to my whole life changing. I thought I was straight my entire life. And I didn't realize how much of my identity in life was wrapped around my orientation. Mm-hmm. And so I started questioning everything and processing a lot with my then husband, talking a lot to my life coach about it, watching other women who are mothers and wives and partners posting sexy photos of themselves, and just felt this freedom I was bearing witness to that I wanted for myself. And so over many, many conversations and lots of coaching services from my coach, I was getting closer to like taking a little sexy photo or wearing just a sports bra and pants to the gym versus like a whole t-shirt. Like these little steps that were huge for me to where now I do this work full time.
Yeah. You know what I like? I know this is going to be a thing. I think you even responded to one of my posts on this type of topic, is the whole idea of taking control. And I think a lot of the times when people think about women in an environment that's potentially like sexual, or like you said, a stripper or sex worker, you automatically associated with a lot of negative things, and you wonder, is she there? Does she want to be there? And what's weird is that somehow still women are sexualized so much, constantly, in fact, yet when a woman takes charge of her own sexuality, people find that really difficult to handle. Did you encounter that at all?
Oh my gosh. I love that you brought that in your social media. I was like, yes, like you guys sexualize us all the time. And then you get mad at us when we own our sexuality. Like that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, there was a huge outcry, and mainly from my former people, because it was so contrary to who they expected me to be, what I had been for my whole life. I get it. It's very confusing. It's very disorienting. It can look like I've jumped off the deep end. I've lost my marbles. All the phrases have been said towards me. And that's fine. And strangers on the internet, when my story went viral, I got, some trolls and I'm a horrible mother. I'm a horrible ex-wife. I'm all these things. But anyone who spends more than 5 minutes with me, even just on my social media account, finds like there's substance there. There's wholeness there. There's this groundedness there. It's not like this flimsy, shallow, hastily made decision. This was a very thoughtful, intentional way of being. And I had to really release trying to make anyone understand or convince anyone, and just be open to the people who saw my heart, understood that I was living my truth, not being a teenager, and letting myself just live in peace.
You touched on labels, and you said the word labels, and I'm sure you were called many things, and you mentioned crazy and probably other things, but I know also that you did your documentary, and you've had a lot of press. You've been on Jimmy Kimmel, and I again wonder how you relate to the idea that women are portrayed in a very certain way sometimes in the media, and when you tell your story, do you feel like you're allowed to tell your story, or do you find yourself sometimes having to tell the story they want you to tell?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this is why I love my story so much, is it pushes back on the binary options women have. You're either like young, single, and sexy, or you're a married, domesticated mother. And like, you cannot be anything other than that one-dimensional character. And then here comes Nikole Mitchell, who's a mother of 3. I love my children. I provide for I'm the sole provider for my family. And I'm a very sexual being, and I do very sexualized work, but from a very empowered place. And so they look at me and they don't know how to handle me. Like, are you rebellious? Are you being a bad mother? But you seem like you really love your children. Like, how are you all these things? And that's like one of my big messages to the world, and especially to women. You get to be it all. You do not have to pick one identity over the other. No one can pigeonhole you. Like, and obviously with me, people have tried to pigeonhole, but I just refuse to be. So depending on the interview, there's some interviews where they try to pigeonhole me as like this wild, dark side woman. And I laugh because I just feel so light and free. And I don't know, I don't feel dark at all. And then there's people who try to like downplay the sexual part of my work because it's too scandalous for their network or whatever. They just want to focus on like my business, or I'm a mother. And I just try to always bring my full self to the table.
That's such a great point. And I think it's mentioned in my book as well, but that is such a great point. The idea of being or like one or the other, it's just the way we've been brought up to think. You're either this or you're that, but actually you could be this and that and this and that. And you don't necessarily always have to choose. Sorry, we jumped like straight into the conversation, but I actually want to go back to pastor days. I'm Jewish. What does pastor mean? What is it? Is it like a priest? Like, what is it? Leader of?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. In the US, we have I was part of a big mega church. And so we had multiple services because we had so many people. So we had a team of pastors who preach, teach, lead in all different ways. And I was part of that team. And I worked for years to get to that point. To become a pastor, I mean, just to show you my background, even to become a pastor was scandalous and rebellious in my upbringing, because women are not allowed to be leaders. That is just for men.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me to even want to become a pastor was my first coming out moment. Wow. It was terrifying. And I remember telling one of my parents, because when I had a parent who had a really hard time with it. And I said, can we just agree that I just want to tell people that God loves them. I'm eating my words now. And I said, but I'm not becoming a stripper or doing drugs. Can we just agree? Oh no, this is a pretty good thing to do with my life. That's so funny. Joke's on me. Nah. But it was that big of a scandal. So just to become a leader in the church was a fight for my freedom. Yeah. And then I became a leader and pastor in this church. And the higher I rose up in ranks, the more censored and controlled I became. They wanted me to not say this. You can only say that. You have to act like this. You need to be more like our head pastor. You need match his flamboyant personality. And it wasn't any longer about being authentic and being my unique self, which is what I wanted to bring to my church. As a biracial queer woman in a very white dominated space, I wanted, I felt I had something unique and needed to offer. And there was no room for it. So eventually I had to leave the very place that gave me freedom. Eventually came to the place that kind of became a cage and had to walk away from that too.
When I see these kind of, you mentioned mega church, and again, I've only kind of seen stuff probably on TV, and I know TV is very, very different, but there is a kind of, one can argue there's an element of showmanship in being pastor for a big community, because you have to project yourself. You have to use your hands a lot. You have to draw people in like anyone would on a stage. Do you think bizarrely, I'm not saying this in a sort of blasphemous way, but do you think in a way there was elements of what you did as a pastor that you do now in a kind of showbiz drawing people in way?
Yes. Oh, wow. Yes. So no, 1,000%. I am a performer. now I'm an exhibitionist. Looking back, I'm like, no wonder I loved it. Thousands of people, spotlights on me. I'm on a stage. Let's go. You're absolutely right. I think there's a lot more similarities between my two lines of work than people think. I joke that I'm a pastor just with less clothes on, because even in my work that I do, these people, my fans and my clients come to me with this deep hunger for connection and care. And I was just telling someone last night, so in my work, I offer Skype video calls, which you would typically think would be done for sexy time. And every single fan who's booked a call with me, it's been for life coaching support. How can I start my business? How can I make more money? How do I leave my religion? How do I pleasure my partner better? Deep conversations. And it just shows in my space where I do this work, all of you is welcomed. Your fears are welcomed and your fetishes are welcome. Your dreams are welcome and your doubts are welcome. And because I'm a life coach and I do this work, you kind of get this whole human experience, and I love it. And I think there's such a need for it.
How did the life coaching come about? Was that something that you always sort of had at the back of your mind that you wanted to do? Did you just fall into it? How did that come about?
Yeah. So it kind of ties in with what Mike was just saying between being a pastor and doing my OnlyFans work or being a stripper. Life coaching was always kind of part of that same thread. So when I left my pastor work, shortly after I started my life coaching business, because it's a way for me to connect with people, help people. I just have such a heart for people. And I had this realization. I was at a small business conference and I'm helping everyone there has a small business. I'm not there. I don't. I'm just there to learn about maybe someday I'll have a small business. And I found myself coaching all these different business owners through their fears around their prices, how to market themselves, mindset, strategy. And that's when a light bulb went off and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a life coach. Like, how did I not see this?
Wow.
But again, like when you're indoctrinated and raised in a church, that's the only way I think people typically ever view themselves. I never viewed myself with a business mindset or how to monetize my gifts.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad because I make way more money as a life coach than I ever did as a pastor. And I make way more money doing my modeling work, OnlyFans work than I ever did in the church. So it was always there. I just didn't have the eyes to see it until a certain point in my life.
I like when I've read a lot of your posts now, but like that message of just, not just accepting things how they are, but questioning, like the constant questioning and going out and not just accepting things as they are, but questioning and finding even out more about yourself. So I just want to link that into relationships. You briefly mentioned that you were married and that you in your 30s discovered that you were queer and bisexual, I think. Yeah.
Bisexual.
And that was a conversation that you did have with your husband. If you're comfortable to talk about it, I'd love to hear more about that. How did that come about, and how you're no longer with your husband? Like how was that whole process, basically?
Yeah. My ex-husband is like an amazing human. We're really close, good friends. We want each other to thrive in every way possible. And I remember when I realized I was queer, the one person I was not afraid to tell was my husband. He's just that kind of person, so open-minded and supportive. So when I came out to him, I was just like, hey, honey, wanna learn something new about me? Like, how do you broach that subject? And he's like, sure. And I'm like, hey, I think I'm queer. I don't think I'm straight. And he was like, tell me more. So I kind of told him the story of how I realized it. And I'm like super emotional and super scared. You know, if I own this part of my identity, I'm going to lose a lot. I'll lose my role at my church. I'll lose my friends. I'll lose family. Because I have a lot of people who are not queer accepting in my life. And he just like pulled me in his arms and he's like, I think that's normal. I think that's natural. And I'm so happy for you. And I was like, oh my God, like just bawled my eyes out. And he really encouraged me to kind of discover that side of myself. He's like, you never got to have that chance. I don't want you to ever feel like you can't explore because you're married now. Like, that's not fair to you. And I was terrified because I didn't want to lose my marriage. I loved him dearly and had no plans on separating from him. So it took me a while to warm up to that idea. We're reading all these books about like polyamory, just seeing like what can work within our family dynamic. And I think for two, I really related to this in your book, Tova, like, there was like this deep, the more I came home to myself, this deep, like sexual awakening happened. And I was ravenous. And I've always been a very sexual being. I've always had a high sex drive. I relate to you because again, there's this myth that only men have high sex drives, women don't. It's like, and that's just not true for me. I have a huge sex drive. So I was like so hungry to want to be with other people, but how do you do this when you originally committed to a monogamous marriage? So I just loved like reading what you guys shared in that book and your own journey, because I related to so much of it. And I love that you guys have found a way to work with that. I love that your reaction.
I love that your reaction to my post was, oh yeah, we did that too. We're divorced now. I was like, oh God. I think that was the first message you sent me. In fact, made me laugh.
Yeah. This is amazing. And this is why I love your guys' story, because I love that people see how multifaceted the subject is. Like, I think there's a lot of assumptions. Like, if you try poly, you're always going to end up divorced. Or if you try poly because there's something wrong with your marriage. And I think both of our stories pushed back on like the typical assumptions, and like you're presented with different ways of going about it. I think there's a part of me that wishes it could have worked out with my ex-husband. Because he's such a good person, and obviously he's like the father of our children, my children. But it didn't work out, and I had to grieve that and release that and be willing to see, oh, can something good come from this? And since my divorce, like how do I say this? The sexual fulfillment I am getting is mind-blowingly amazing, and it's something I didn't know if I would ever get in my lifetime. And so as much as like I wanted to hang on to that relationship with my ex-husband, I am deeply grateful for where my life has brought me and the experiences I'm having and the relationships I'm having, and have found it to be deeply, deeply healing.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. No, I just find like that's such a interesting point, especially when people talk with women who have experienced that kind of like sexual awakening. I don't know why. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but it seems quite intimidating to a lot of people when they hear that for the first time. Like I find that people get very intimidated by that. Have you had that type of experience? Can you relate to that?
Yeah, I think I like intimidating people, maybe just a little bit. Like I think I like talking about the stuff people don't talk about, which is why, again, I really like your work in your book and your social media posts. It's like, let's talk about these things we're so scared to talk about. I mean, for example, I was terrified, and now I love talking about, I was just given my first orgasm from a partner in October. Like, I'm in my later 30s, and I thought that day would never come. I can have plenty of orgasms by myself, but I had never had someone take their time to learn me. And so I thought I was broken. I thought, I can't do it. There's so much pressure. I can't do it under 3 minutes. What's wrong with me? And so when I had that,
wait,
by the way,
nothing's under 3 minutes. Is that like something we need to all be to achieve? Wait, there's like a 3-minute rule? Is there?
We're busy people. We got things.
Come on, 3 minutes.
when you have 3-minute sex, that's all, like, that's your allotted time to like come. That was my situation for a long time, and it was really hard. So I just eventually came to the belief that I was broken. And so I remember, so this is why I love talking about this, because then when I had that first orgasm, I just started bawling, and the words that just kept coming out my mouth was, oh my God, I'm not broken. Oh my God, I'm not broken. I'm going to cry. Like, it was such a healing and like this life altering experience.
Were you bawling with the person you were with? They must have thought, what have I done something wrong? You're crying. What have I done? I'm sorry. And you're crying.
Oh my God.
It was a memory for the books. Like super hot, passionate sex. And then a screeching halt. I'm just like bawling in bed.
Oh, that's so
funny. It was super sexy. But and this is the beautiful thing, the person I was with just like scooped me up and held me in his arms while I just sobbed. And like afterwards, when we processed it, he was like, that was holy that I got to bear witness to that. And I was like he knew how to handle that, which was impressive, because it had to have been a little bit shocking or jarring, like what happened. But I had also been honest with this person ahead of time, like, hey, by the way, I've never had an orgasm from someone else. It's something I really want, but I'm really scared. I don't, no pressure. But we had talked about it for so long, and there was no pressure. Like, we would just do it without having that happen. So when it did happen, that's why it caught me off guard, because we weren't trying. And it was just this mind-blowing experience. But I say all that to say, once I came out that story, all these women came out to me saying, I have never been given an orgasm by my husband, by my partner. Yes. And I mean,
I think it's over 50% of women. I can't remember now the number, but it's something really ridiculous. It's a big number of women never experience orgasm from a partner with a partner.
Yes. And part of it is like, I felt so alone and like shameful about that there's something wrong with me. So which is why I'm so passionate about talking about it, just like you, about your different topics, because if other women can hear, oh, I'm not alone, and here's some ways that helped me, then like the whole world is me better. I just think the world would be healed if all the women were given all the orgasms. I just think that is the key.
I thought you were going to say something else. If all the world was just given, women were just given all the control. And I was like, oh, orgasms.
That too.
That also.
When you talking about your present career now, at what stage did you go, I can make money out of this? What I could do a career? How did that process happen? And then obviously you mentioned OnlyFans, which I don't know too much about. Talk us through that as well.
I love that you asked that, Mike. So I love like my nude work so much that I would like do it for free. I'm just so passionate. I'm like, here it is. Thankfully I don't. Thankfully I know how to monetize. So when I started my OnlyFans a year and a half ago, I only started it because Instagram wouldn't let me post these photos. If Instagram would let me post these photos, I would. So thank you, Instagram, for making me a shit ton of money. So I started an OnlyFans page to have a place to put these sexy photos that I'd had on my phone for years. I started doing it less than a year after my third kid was born. I've got my voluptuous breastfeeding boobs. I'm like I feel super slim because I'm just breastfeeding all the time. Like, it's like melting. I'm like, God, we got to capture this. And like my best friend's like taking photos of me. but of course I have nowhere to share them. And so I've just kept them on my phone all these years. And then I finally got brave enough to have a platform where like, hey, I just want to share and just see like what's my level of comfort and what I'm willing to share with other people who are willing to pay for it. And I like the idea of being paid for it because it kind of eliminates a lot of people. I don't want the cheapies. I don't want the freebies. I want people who are going to like be good clientele for this kind of work. And so I did it, and it's a side thing, and it just made me a little bit of money, but it's just fun, like posting these photos and just seeing my own evolution. And thankfully, like I did that for over a year, and I had like a small loyal fan base, and they're amazing. Shout out to all my OGs. And then my story went viral, and that's when it blew up. And I'm so glad I'd had a year to get used to me doing this work, because when thousands of people subscribed, I was able to handle it, and I didn't freak out or feel like I'd been found out, because I was already living that way for a while now.
So I just want to talk about the OnlyFans. Is it mainly women who subscribe, or is it a kind of combo of men and women? What's the ratio between?
I think it's mostly men. I don't know the actual data because you can create anonymous accounts. Right. So there's like no identifying factors, but there are some women who let me know. And there's some of them are like friends, like, oh, by the way, subscribe. I just want to see what you're doing. Or I had a girlfriend reach out to me, hey, me and my husband subscribed. We love what you do. I'm like, oh my God, that's like a little sheepish and amazing. Like, this is pretty cool. And then like I have a favorite fan. She's like in her 60s, and she like updates me in her sex life. And she's like, me and my partner like watched your video and got off to it together. And I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, people from all walks of life. I have lots of queer people in there, and people just like having fun and connecting and going deeper than what I think most people even really realize what happens inside there. It's a pretty magical place.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask more questions about that, because I want to understand. So you put up, it's like a membership, and you've got loads of great pictures, sexy, stunning pictures and video clips. Is that part of, it's like what is it, porn?
I guess you could call it that. I don't call it that. I think because like when people think of porn, think of it as explicit. I actually think of my work as very intimate. Right. Like I'm inviting you to very vulnerable and intimate parts of my life and ways of being. So I don't use the word porn, but I've had people call it porn. Right. But I have pictures, I have videos, I do live streams only like once a month or once every other month. Oh, wow. And I post every day. And I send out DMs every day. I just like care. I love to over deliver, and I love to give people amazing experiences. And what's really cool is I do all these professional shoots. I have all these amazing professional photos, but fans love the home shots. Me blow drying my hair with no makeup on, me just waking up out of bed with like, not like with my makeup on from last night, like that real side of Nikole. So so that's why, again, I think it's so intimate, is I post my glamorized shots, but it's my own selfies or my own, using my ring light, my own videos that I take, that they're just like the most likes, the most engagement, the most love for. So it's just so much deeper than I think. And this is why I have a hard time calling porn, because I think when porn, there's like this distance. With what I create, there's like this closeness and this proximity and this accessibility you have that's unlike anywhere else.
And the followers on Instagram, do you think, are they also, is it kind of like this similar followers, or do you think they come there for something else? Because obviously your Instagram, again, stunning, lots of beautiful, very sexy photographs, but obviously very different because of the restrictions of Instagram. So is it a very different audience, or is it quite similar?
I think it's pretty similar, because again, I bring that contrast of like these super sexy photos with like deep coaching. I use up every character in all my Instagram posts, like all 400 characters, which is never enough. I max that out because I'm all about reaching people's hearts and helping people change their lives and live life on their terms. And so I think people come for both. I think there's people who come just for the pictures. I think there's people who come because I'm both, and she's both sexy and very serious. And
I find it so interesting, just the idea of, because, like it's funny to me that, I mean, of course, men would follow you. Of course, men would want to see your pictures and your videos, but then the things you write are so catered for women. So it's such a weird dynamic and combo. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And I love it. It is. It's like, I pour my heart out to know because I was one of those women where I was watching other women be their free, confident, badass selves. And I wanted my version of that. And so I write my post for the silent watchers, because that's where a lot of transformation happens. The people who don't even let me know they're there, but I know they're there. Yeah.
You mentioned you're viral, going viral. So just talk to us. Was that when the documentary came out? How did that happen? Because obviously you had the documentary, which talks through the whole story, and it's really well made. And I don't know if you know this, but well, I did a mom life crisis documentary a few years ago when I went through my midlife crisis, and you know, I did my bucket list and I went and did different things. It's all listed in the book, and I did a nude photo shoot and took up pole dancing and all of that. And at some point we tried to pitch it for television, and you know, the feedback that I got was that it wasn't extreme enough. So when I watched your show, I was like, this is what they meant. They wanted me to make that show. And I was just clapping. Like, that's all I was able to do. I was like, she did it. Like, now I actually felt closure. I just want you to know, you gave me closure with Mom Life Crisis, because it's been on the back burner, and it's been one of those projects that for a few years I've been like, trying a bit, talking to people, and that's been one of the main feedbacks. And when I saw your documentary, I thought, right, I get it now, and it's been done, and I can walk away now. So good for you. And now tell us more about that.
Oh, it's so funny because so my story went viral in September of 2020. And I was wanting to get more press for my life coaching business. I love my clients. I want to serve more clients. I have a mastermind. I teach digital courses. So I was wanting to get a bigger audience. And so I started pitching myself to media and to TV. And I got my story picked up by the New York Post, where that she was like, oh my gosh, I want to know more about your story. And so I shared my story with her for the intention of I think storytelling is powerful and changes people's lives, as you know so very well. And to get more eyes on my life coaching business, I had no idea when I told the New York Post my story and they published it, what it would do to my life. And it's so funny because after it went viral, I got comments from people like, oh, you're so smart. You strategized this. You planned all this. And I'm like, wow, give me a lot of credit. I'll take it. Yeah. But I am so not I don't have a strategic bone in my body. I was just like, I'll tell my story. And if it helps people and if it gets more eyes in my life coaching business, that's cool. And then my OnlyFans blew up and I got picked up by all the press. And then I've gone viral a couple more times since then, like New Year's Day. The New York Post wrote another article on me, unbeknownst to me, that went viral. This documentary came out that you're talking about, this video documentary came out last month. It went viral again.
Amazing.
And I think it's because it's sensational, yes, but I think it's so relatable. I think a lot of people live a version of their lives and deep inside they ask themselves, is there something more? And I hope with my story, I'm a living witness saying, yes, there is, and you can have it too. Even if it's just a slight pivot and not this complete life change like mine.
And it's also, I think what it is, this was the appeal with Mom Life Crisis, and I can imagine it was the appeal with you, is that, again, people have a lot of stereotypes and preconceptions about what a adult model would be like and what a stripper would be like. And then they meet someone like you who's normal and lovely and well-spoken. And they're like, oh my God, this could be anyone. It's a mom from the suburbs with her kids who probably did the bake sale and does the carpool. And she's just like me. So, wow, and that I think is the biggest appeal.
Yes, I totally agree. And I love that. I love boggling people's minds and making them kind of rethink the way we assume things about other people.
Yeah. We're going to play a little game. Yes, we are. And then I have one final question for you. So I hope you're prepared for this, by the way.
We'll find out.
Well, I hope so. But we're going to play a little game that's called Two Truths and a Lie. Yes, whereby we each say two truths and one is a lie. And we have to guess to see if we can figure out which is which. Mike and I know each other pretty well, so we might know each other's stories, in which case we will not cheat.
Okay, do you want to start? You start.
Yeah, I'll start. Okay, so mine are little ones this time, actually. So my first story is that I ended up having lunch with Bruce Willis in the Caribbean. Mike and I went for our wedding. I had a day to myself, and there he was sitting in a restaurant right next to me. And I came up to him and we ended up sharing a salad. Well, we didn't share a salad. I had a salad. He had a salad. We sat there together. The second one was, I really wanted to get a tattoo when I was in my 20s, and I went to get a tattoo, and I chickened out last minute, ended up getting an eyebrow piercing, and had that for a whole year. That is my second story. And my third story is that I stole my own car from my brother, who took my car out one night without permission. And to teach him a lesson, I basically went and found the car where he was at, got into the car and drove it home. My brother was mortified when he came out of the club, wherever he was, and couldn't find my car and thought it was stolen. Those are
so we're going to guess which one is
the
lie.
The lie.
The lie.
3 stories.
Okay.
You know the
story. Well, I've heard
right?
one of the stories, so
you have to not participate.
I had to pass.
So it's all you, Nikole.
Gosh. Okay. Yeah, the lie is either, and then I'll pick one. It's either the Bruce Willis story or your brother. And I'm like the worst at this game. I always go against my gut instinct, which is hilarious. So much of my work is about trusting my gut. God,
Go with your gut. Come on, go with your gut. God. Surely.
I want to say the Bruce Willis is a lie, but is it?
So wait,
is that your final
answer?
I hate getting stuff wrong. I feel so much pressure. God. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a lie, but it's probably the truth because I feel like that's what my gut's saying. I'm gonna say it's a lie.
So,
it is a lie.
Yes,
he did.
Close to the truth.
Close to the truth, though. Like he sat in a restaurant next to me in the Caribbean, but I chickened and I didn't go.
He didn't sit on his table.
No,
while he was there with a very young.
I had lunch. He had lunch, and we completely ignored each other. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Do you have stories for us? Do you have?
I do, but gosh, mine are not elaborate like that. Mine are just like boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, no.
Okay, let me give you my 3 boops.
Okay.
One is I used to be a news anchor.
Right.
I have my motorcycle license and I have 2 master's degrees.
Oh God, they all seem true to me. All of them seem true. Wait, so 2 masters. She used to be a news anchor and motorbike. Yeah. What, that she has a license? You have a license. Oh,
I think she does have 2 master's degrees.
Yeah, I do too.
Because I think if you're a pastor, you've got to obviously learn kind of sort of divinity, biblical studies.
You knowing your stuff.
Biblical studies.
No, come on, you can't make this stuff up. One can argue a lot of it is already made up. But you can't,
I think the news anchor is not right. I don't
motorbike.
Unless it was like you stepped in. I love how serious you are. She's doing her poker face.
Eating this up.
You're like doing your poker face. We're so bad at poker.
What is it?
That's why I don't play poker.
It's so bad.
Dreadful. I'm going to go with news anchor.
Me too. Wow.
So we're both saying news anchor is a lie.
It's a truth. I was a news anchor for years.
No.
Always get it wrong. We're terrible at this game.
I'm not terrible.
I've never got it right once.
I should never listen to you.
So which one was the lie then?
Which was the lie?
My 2 masters. I have 1 master's degree.
Right. You're good at this because you see, this is how we should play it. Like very quick, very quick things, not make a whole big deal out of it.
I love the stories you come up with. Those amazing.
I know. Weird minds.
Okay, now your go.
Okay,
Wait, Mike.
I can't remember.
I think I'll probably know. Okay. If I know, I won't say.
Here are my 3. Okay. I once dated a member of the hit girl band Bananarama.
Do you know Bananarama?
I don't know if she was big in America. They were a big girl band.
Do you know the song Goddess of a Mountain
Venus,
Top, burning like a silver flame?
Anyway, look them up. They're
very famous.
But also because of my upbringing, I was very sheltered, uncultured. Okay. So I don't know most.
In the UK, they were like
a girl band,
biggest girl band in the 80s, late 80s.
So think 90s. Spice Girls, but the 80s.
Yeah, that was my first thought.
Yeah, very similar. So I dated women. You probably won't get this one either. Second one is at a charity event. During a song, I did a bit of backing vocals while Bruce Springsteen was doing something on stage at a charity event. Very drunk, but that doesn't matter. And number 3, you might not know this. There's a singer called Robbie Williams who was in a band called Take That.
Do you know
He's
Robbie
in America
Williams?
now. He's in America now.
No?
He's married to
The actor?
No.
Robbie. He was in Take
Robbie
That.
Williams. Yeah, he was in Take That. Was he?
Yeah, he lives in America. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Very famous singer.
Listeners will know I stole a picture from his property. I stole a picture from his flat. Those are your 3. So Bruce Springsteen, Bananarama, stealing from a well-known singer's flat. Yeah. One of those is a lie.
You totally dated a girl from Bananarama. That's a given. I thought the Bruce Springsteen one was the lie, but stealing someone's painting? I'm going to say stealing someone's painting is a lie.
I got it right.
Yay!
You should have gone the Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, you got it.
Some backing vocals.
I feel like
the other 2 are true.
Yeah, we've saved our sort of our.
I finally got one right. Everyone just sees through me immediately.
He did actually still steal the painting at the end of the.
Oh
yes, sorry. Oh God.
Too much over to come out.
We still have it.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I'll
be sure to tag him in this interview.
You're getting better at this. But you know what I love? How you just said you totally dated her. Totally dated her.
And the only reason is because I read your book and I learned that Mike was in the entertainment industry. If I didn't know that, I think I would have been a little more. Okay. Yes. I did my homework a little bit.
That's good.
Very clever.
Oh, this is amazing. Well, this was amazing. We're going to leave you with one question. And this is the question I wish people would ask me in interviews. So I'm hoping you will feel the same. But if you don't, then you can just tell me later, Tova, that question is shit. Don't ever ask it again. I feel like in line with what we talked about with pigeonholing and just kind of like all of that, I do a lot of interviews and I always get asked the same questions. So I'm hoping we asked you some new ones today, but what I want to is give you the opportunity to answer a question that you wish you would get asked and you just never get asked. So is there anything that you want to say that you think, why doesn't anybody ask me that question?
God. That's like a good question, but now I'm like,
now you're like,
just be honest, like, it's awful question.
Pressure. What's the question?
Did we ask you anything new today? Like anything? Or have you been
asking? Yeah, I don't think it's the asking. I think it's the conversation that unfolded. Like I shared like orgasm details that I've not shared in as much detail as I have. Like you guys got the most detail there.
We are known for getting these scoops out of people. We're not.
Oh, I know. I totally believe you are. Like your book is one big scoop. So I'm not surprised at all that you'd get scoops from other people. Let me think.
You can either be that or something you want to leave the listeners with.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking is I'm so multifaceted and so multi-passionate. I think right now what I'm really passionate about for people is the message of it's a lot easier than you think to make a shit ton of money doing what you love. And part of my passion as a life coach and as just someone who's living it is helping people learn how to monetize their passion, because so many people settle for a life and a paycheck that is not what they actually want. And they think, are they crazy to ask for more? And I always tell people, you're not crazy. You absolutely deserve more. And have a whole digital course on how to monetize yourself. Because if you can learn how to monetize who you are, your energy, your presence, no matter where you go or what you do, you know how to make a shit ton of money. So I think that's the message I want to leave with people is like, I want you to live your best life. I want you to be your true self, and you can be rich as fuck. Because there's this idea that if I live my truth, I'll be broke. If I come out and become evolve and leave everything behind, I'm going to come on the other side poor and struggling. What if we flip that script and say, you come on the other side happier, healthier, and wealthier? Because you can.
I love that. And I love that you said the word more, because again, it's such a dirty word. How dare you want more? How dare you? You've already got it all. How dare you want more? So dare. Yeah.
Yes. More.
Exactly.
Demand it. Receive it. Have it.
Oh, that's amazing. Nikole, thank you so much. Where can people find you, and where can they go if they want to look into your life coaching, obviously, and the OnlyFans? Where can they go?
Yeah, come to my website, NikoleMitchell.com. Nikole is spelled with a K, Nikole. I'm very active on Instagram and Facebook. Those are two places you can say hi. And that will guide you to all the right places and links. But come on over. I love meeting new people. And Tova and Mike, thank you guys so much for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you guys for living your stories so bravely and beautifully and open. You are serving so many people with it. And I hope we can become good friends. I just adore you two so much.
We're gonna come and stay with you in California.
Yes, come on over.
As soon as we're allowed.
As soon as we can. We're coming with the 3 dogs and the 3 kids.
Oh my God. Join my 3 kids, my cat. It's gonna be great.
We're so coming. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, and for everybody listening out there, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget to subscribe and to leave us a review, and check out our new page on Instagram, Till Death Do Us Pod. And we will see you in the same time next week. Bye, everyone.